So welcome back to another Schmoes Know podcast review. This past week's guest we got Eliza, which I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Claire Kramer, and Sean Austin, and a call-in from Chris Stuckman. Now, with Eliza, she's a stand-up comedian, so of course she knows Mark. And we do find out that Mark would do anything for a female or a girl, which, in all honesty, who wouldn't nowadays? Honestly, think about that. But she talked about how days in stand-up, talking about how SNL possibly took her act. Pretty much said every act nowadays in comedian stand-up is being taken or redone before, saying that, you know what, it's good that they copied my work, it was fine. So she was cool. The guest they got up was Claire Kramer, who did work on Buffy. Now she was cool as well. She talked about her days working on the Buffy show and stuff like that. And the other guest we talked about, the other guest that was there was Sean Austin, who was talking about his show that he's starting a Kickstarter for his show to raise money. I think he said that he has $15,000 already in donations as is, and he's working his way up to making it at least $30,000 or $35,000. So he's pretty much halfway there. But the second half of the whole entire show was based on Breaking Bad, which after last week's season finale, how could we not talk about Breaking Bad? All talked about some of their best moments on the Breaking Bad show entirely. Some of the moments that were covered I like, some of the other moments that I wish they talked about more. But when you talk about Breaking Bad, a show that's so great, there's so many points that you can bring out when it comes to a show like that. And you got also who called in too was Chris Stuckman, who talked about his favorite moments of Breaking Bad. And they all talked about some of their favorite characters, some of their favorite moments, some of their favorite scenes, some of their favorite lines. And really, Mark Ellis was on his game when it came to explaining some of his favorite moments in Breaking Bad. Not to say everybody else didn't, but he was really the main star of Breaking Bad podcast. It was a little slight humor in this episode too, how Josh McCuga went back and forth with Kristen Harloff. So that was pretty funny as well too. But yeah, this show didn't really talk about a lot about movies, but again, when you have Breaking Bad of a show of that magnitude, why would you talk about movies? I mean, yes you do. You could talk about movies on a movie podcast, but Breaking Bad, come on. One of the greatest shows to ever grace the screen. You gotta talk about Breaking Bad. But this show was not as entertaining as past shows, but it was a pretty good one to watch. Also too, we learned to find out that Tiffany and Mark, like I said last week, that they won't be there. But we do find out that Yodi and Bonnie Summerwell will co-host next week. We finally get some confirmation that maybe we get a possible videotape coming for next week. So we kind of see what Bonnie Summerwell was talking about in weeks past. Too bad Mark won't be there, but I guarantee if we got Bonnie Summerwell from the last couple of weeks, then I definitely think that it'll be well worth that videotape to see. So like I said before, this show was entertaining. It's not as entertaining as past weeks, but it was still enjoyable talking about Breaking Bad, talking about stand-up, talking about Buffy. It was a good show to watch. I can't say it was like one of my favorite shows, but this show was a good show to watch. I'm going to give this show 3.5 out of 5 stars. A very good watch. So if you like this review, please rate, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for next week when I do another Schmoes Know podcast review. And as always, guys, until next time, Movie Nation.